Mario C.
You can't front on that. All right. Hi, Bob.
Hi, good morning, guys. I want to apologize for the technical issues last week. I appreciate your patience. Hopefully, the internet cooperates today. I assure you it was nothing intentional last week on my part.
Well, I, for one, remember exactly what you're talking about and have a full memory of.
And we were all convinced you did it intentionally.
Yeah.
And we took it personally.
Well, the subject matter is kind of sensitive, but let's not go there.
Okay. I really don't remember.
No, I don't remember
He had
either.
to join us on the phone. He had trouble getting. He had to do it on a phone call last week.
Oh, Bob, the world doesn't revolve around you.
It doesn't?
No.
No.
All right. Volin wrote a thing being very critical of the decision making of Drake Maye, and he used the example of not going for it on 4th and 2 in a 2-score game and settling for the field goal. Let's start there. What was your opinion on his decision there?
Well, Zoe was certainly on board with that thinking too, along with Ben, that the Patriots should have gone for the touchdown when it was 4th and goal from the 2, and we were critical when they went for 2 after the score down by the same margin at Jacksonville or in London, and so yesterday they tried to kick after the score by low. And obviously the extra point was blocked. So in that case, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But going back to the decision on 4th and goal to go, I didn't have as much of an issue with that as others, only because I thought, okay, it's still third quarter. You got a chance to keep your team in the game. If you don't convert here, the game's over, essentially. The other part of it, though, too, for me, is I think the frustration to get to that point with what they were trying to do in tight. They've gone to these heavy condensed formations, and it allowed them to sneak out Vidarian low with that unbalanced line for a touchdown, the pass to the tackle eligible. But I don't think that we've seen enough success in those kind of compact formations. And this is, look, I may be proven wrong, and probably so, but just anecdotally thinking back through recent years, when they go condensed, when they really pack everything in and you telegraph run, it just hasn't necessarily worked out unless the quarterback has pulled the ball like last week in Chicago and thrown it to Polk, or for example, yesterday to Vidarian Lowe. Even when Ramondre Stevenson scored that game-winning touchdown against the Jets, he barely got in. So I thought in that case, maybe that's where we would see the play that we saw, or some type of play along the same lines in the preseason with Drake Maye, given an opportunity to read and react and run, or at least some kind of an option using the quarterback's movement down there, or spreading things out a little bit. So I was more critical at that point of kind of the approach they took to get to 4th down than that decision at that point. But either way, they didn't stop the Rams, so it became a moot point.
I'm wondering where you think Drake Maye is right now. We're used to him scrambling and creating more time and hitting guys on the run, but yesterday we saw a little bit of a different version. He stood in there against the blitz and still managed to deliver. It just seems like his game is rounding out exceptionally well. We all know he's good. We all know he's the future, but he seems to show us something different every week.
I would agree, John. I thought yesterday he was at his best the first part of that game, especially the way he distributed the ball. And I even asked him post-game if he felt like the playbook is expanding for him now. And a lot of times he was under pressure, and it didn't look like that. I know a former Patriot player who's in the media who used to appear on our station and then went to work for another station, made a comment about how effortless it looks. And I think that's really telling about how good a player is when it seems to come easy to him. And I thought yesterday, everything for Maye, the decision-making, the movement in the pocket, even when he moved outside the pocket, there's a control to his game now, and yet he's still making things happen very quickly. And I thought the decision-making yesterday was very good, in the ball distribution is evident to that. And you look at the numbers overall this year, I think the touchdown passes that he's thrown, every pass has been thrown to a different guy thus far this season with Drake Maye as their quarterback, another sign of his growth. But I think you're absolutely right. He was pressured on nearly half of his dropbacks yesterday, I think at 40%, according to Next Gen Stats.
By the way, you're good with Maye. Trust me. Watching other quarterbacks. Drake Maye's already better than
Aaron Rodgers.
No question.
Drake Maye's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. He is 100%. Let's get. I just want to go over one more decision because I found it was interesting in the meta sense too.
Yeah.
They choose not to kick a 55-yard field goal. In today's NFL, that seems very odd to me. And then what's even more odd is Mayo says, yeah, Sly was struggling before the game. Wouldn't you just cut the guy then? Like if a guy can't make a 55-yard field goal on a nice day, that's not a kicker that you want. There's guys kicking 68-yarders now.
A couple things. I want to go back to your first question too, Fred, because I think it relates to the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about Dan Campbell and your philosophy. And I think that this coaching staff, obviously, you've got a new head coach, new coordinators, et cetera. But I don't, the philosophy of Campbell has been consistent. He's ultra aggressive. Maybe that's a reflection of his background. He's an offensive guy, played tight end in the NFL, very aggressive mentality offensively. And I'm starting to wonder, like, is Gerard managing some of these games like a guy who played his whole career on defense and then his only experience on the coaching side of things, is under a guy like Bill. I mean, I think back to what Bill would have done in recent years in that same situation, and I'm almost positive he would have eschewed going for it on 4th and goal and instead kicked the field goal to keep the team in the game. And I consider him the best of all time. So I think that I wonder about the background of the thinking of coaches. And when you're young and maybe a decision didn't work out the first time, do you have the tendency the next time to second guess that first decision you made and go in a different direction? And that tends not to work out. I think finding consistently a philosophy that you're going to manage your team by and coach by. And obviously each situation is different and has to dictate it. But I'm just wondering now the overarching, part of this for him. And going back to the field goal situation, I
want to give you credit because that's a very interesting point, is that you're by nature conservative because you feel that it's almost how you look at the game, is that you're looking at a game as a field position game instead of looking as an aggressive game of scoring. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's because you're not even flipping the field that much if you punt on a 55-yard. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not even flipping the field that much. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to your point, and I think this and it's too early to tell. I mean, the sample size is just not great enough to tell, even with 11 games of a sample, I think. Regarding the field goal situation, I know the Rams kicker because I was in the Rams booth. He was struggling kicking in that direction pregame. And in fact, I mentioned it before he missed in the other direction. And I heard Joey Sly afterwards say the same thing, that he had issues. I think the wind conditions yesterday were a lot trickier on the field. And we talked about that actually on the pregame show with Joey about any situation you go into. It's always different down on the field. In most cases, when you look at the flags at the top of the stadium, they're not indicative of what it's like down on the field. So that I think Sean McVay late in the game had a chance to re-up the score to 2 possessions differential, and he decided to punt and forego what would have been, I think, a 54-yard field goal try going in that same direction. But the other thing about that too, though, is that if you're Bryce Baringer, and I think he'd be the first to say this, I mean, your job now as the punter, you've made that decision, you got to pin them deep.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
Right.
And I keep going back. I think the big thing for me yesterday, all the coaching decisions, aside, and part of this is coaching because it's the way they tried to defend the Rams with Nakua and Kupp and Stafford. The Rams dominated. Drake Maye said last week, I'm going to challenge the team to win the line of scrimmage. I thought the Rams controlled the line of scrimmage. I thought they controlled the game. Time of possession is, in my opinion, in that game, irrelevant. The Rams had 2 scoring drives, 14 points on plays, 3 plays, 54 seconds. The Patriots had, I think, 3 possessions of 5 minutes plus and got 2 field goals and a punt out of those 3 possessions. But the Rams had first down plays of 18, 12, 25, and they had a second down play of 69. So I mean, they were able in one play to get themselves from the 30 to midfield time and time again yesterday.
For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.